I'd like to read a short excerpt from Elf Gift. It's the story. This is the first volume in a series of books, of 2, maybe 3 books, about the singularity, which is the next stage of human evolution. And although at this point in the story, everything appears to be a little bit more magical and supernatural. So I'd like to read the section that takes place in Ireland at the time of the potato famine. The main character here is named Darby. He's an Irish peasant who goes to work in an English home, a very wealthy English home. And it's October of 1846, the second year of the Blight, and the really calamitous year for the potato harvest, when it was basically wiped out. So there's the starvation, the famine has just begun really in earnest. And Darby is a footman in an English home, and he is with his friend Tegan. And what's happened is, Tegan works as a page in the same home. The Irish potato famine, you should know, the English economic laws toward Ireland really exacerbated the problem. And so anyone who could afford to eat in Ireland ate, basically, but most people couldn't, so millions of people starved. And this morning, Darby and Tegan the butcher's cart is coming, and they have to drive it away because thousands of starving people are flocking on their way to Dublin, have camped out in the little village, which is just outside of Dublin. The situation is very serious. Everyone in the house is very nervous about the consequences of having a delivery of food while thousands of starving people are just across the lane in the park. So Darby and Tegan are outside, and they hear the cart approaching. They can't quite see it yet. He could still hear the horses approach, but the rhythm was now erratic. It came faster, then slow, then fast again. And then it became a clap here and there, and he could envision the horses stepping about in the same spot, confused about which way to turn. Tegan pushed, "Let me see." By now, all eyes were fixed to the left, and Darby crept up to get a longer view down the lane, Tegan filling the space he'd just left. The last of the people who had been lingering out front moved away, opening the vast park for display. Every hood, hands clenched underneath to hold them closed, faced the same direction, and smoke rose from spots all around. And then in a terrifying display, the people moved as one, funneling to a point. His mind froze with the purest terror he had ever felt, for the people moved the way sand glides, as one mass when a retreating wave drags it back to the sea. A roar of anger slowly arose, and with every voice mixed together, it was so low and full and rich it seemed to come from the earth itself. Not one eye looked in their direction, and Darby and Tegan leaped to the sidewalk to watch. The butcher's cart was overrun. Plain as day, black lettering on white paint, the sign announced for all to see, "McGuire's Meats." Underneath it read, "Beef, poultry, mutton, and pork." The driver was on top, clinging to the edge as the whole carriage rocked. In one violent move, the crowd pushed the carriage to the right, and he tumbled off, instantly swallowed by the mob. A crush of people slapped the sides, pattering dirty palm prints up as far as arms could reach. The second line of the sign was soon obliterated. The 2 horses reared up with fright, one after the other, their legs pawing back and forth in midair. One of them fell, and people jumped on it like wolves on a rabbit. Soon the second horse was felled, and with no tools, the people used their hands to rip the horses apart as they kicked helplessly on the ground, snorting and huffing. Steam rose as their blood spilled into the cold morning air, and soon a piercing wail began, louder than any other sound. The horses were screaming. Darby hadn't known that horses could scream. A woman, followed by 3 small grasping figures, broke free and stumbled away back to the park, carrying what looked like horse testicles. A great splintering crack shot out when one of the wheels on the carriage gave way against the force of the crowd, and the entire box lurched before crashing onto those who were on the other side. The back doors, which were always locked, were flung open from the inside, and 2 delivery men in white coats jumped out, but escape was impossible, and they fell into the arms of the mob like men leaping into a fire. In no time, many hands tore away the back doors and tossed them aside. Desperate screams from that spot soared upward as people descended on the goods within. The carriage bucked and swayed and jerked on the ground as if it were a living creature in the last throes of a violent death. The crowd pushed forward from the park, frantic with the thought that all the food would soon be gone. The same thought filled the minds of those near the center of the riot, but who couldn't get close enough to the food. They turned on each other, punching and shoving and throwing elbows. Some of them leaped onto the side of the cart, which was now the top, and tried vainly to pound their way through the wood. A grown man shoved his way from the crowd, knocking back anyone who came with a fearful roar. He held a raw pork leg, and as soon as he was free, he ripped off a chunk with his teeth. A screaming woman ran up to him and reached for it, and he punched her square in the face. The crunch of her skull was audible, and blood spurted out. She crumpled to the ground dead. Just then, a small child leaped onto her lifeless form, burying its face in the dark hollow of her hood. "No more," Darby said aloud to nobody but himself, and as soon as he heard the sound of his voice, each word broken into many pieces, he began to shake violently. Tegan's face was stricken in terror. Sweat streamed down. He too shook like gelatin. Darby turned and in the same move grabbed Tegan's arm. It took a violent pull to break the spell Tegan was under, but when he yielded, they started to run. But their legs were unforgiving, and they stumbled their way to the park, to the stairs, clinging to each other for support. "They've not seen us, have they?" Tegan asked. His voice trembled like a wet dog in the cold. Darby was going to answer that they'd escaped without notice when he saw a small group of starving people coming right for them from the other direction, their frayed rags whipping like the hair of a demon in fires of hell, one of them carrying a large bundle. They moved with greater speed than the others, as if Satan had shot them up with power and sent them on a mission to tear them to pieces. And so you have to read the book to find out what happens. Thank you all for coming.
Well, everyone, welcome.
Tony is one of the people who helped me organize.
Yeah, well, thank you. Welcome to Underworld Roof, everyone. Please come in, and we enjoyed Bud's book, enjoy the store. We have fantastic gifts and ornaments. All of our proceeds, all of our profits go to support HIV/AIDS and LGBT organizations here in the Bay Area. So please enjoy yourself. Enjoy Bud's new novel. We're so proud to be helping him launch it tonight, and enjoy some champagne and cookies, and have a good time.
Thank you.